Hey guys, what's up? This is DarkAlpha, and welcome back to another great video, and perhaps the most important video I've ever done, which is explaining why we need to discuss the overalls and rarity of those overalls in the next Madden Ultimate Team 25, and discussing why we feel the way we feel about them. The debate that I'm going to be arguing against is that what a lot of people feel is that, well, not a lot of people, but a few people that say Madden should be like it has been, where everybody can get 99s, there's 99s everywhere. If you want to have the best possible team on day one, like it was this year, where you could go out and buy the Star Sharps and Star Youngs and pretty much have the greatest team possible, that still today would be one of the best possible teams. You should be able to. This should be easy to get, and it should be just very common. People like myself and Rockets, and generally most of the Evo from what I've seen, is that we want to have rare cards, the really rare great cards, but just have them not be so common. So you could still have cards like Sharp and Megatron, but they would be very, very rare. And if you pull them, you should be like, "Oh my God, I pulled one." It shouldn't be to where they're flooding the auction house, and these really great cards are pretty much going for discard because they're just so common. They use words like it's more profitable for more 99s to flood the game than for other ones. But I don't think this is the case, because I certainly haven't spent any money this year. I don't need to, and I know a bunch of people who do buy packs in other games that just don't buy it here because there's a very little point. Which directly leads me into my next point, where he goes and he says that card collecting should be fun. I agree, but what's the point in card collecting if every card is the same? And then he says one of the most frightening things I've read, where he says that neither tight end collection reward performs as well as is Sharp, and that they shouldn't. When Sharp is released on day one, it really scares me that you say something that's just completely wrong like this, because Sharp is just not as good as the tight end rewards. I'm going to show you why in a second, but this is just completely wrong on nearly every level. Let's go and let's take a closer look. Let's get ourselves a golden ticket Randy Moss card. Thanks, Junior. And let's look at the flashback Randy Moss card. So we got a card that released in November, and I'm going to show you how cheap it is, and a card that was released the other week. And let's look at Tony Gonzalez, one of the greatest cards in the game, I think. One that was released, the tight end reward. And let's look at Stu Star Sharp, the card that was released almost at release, back in August, and one of the greatest and newest cards. And now, let's compare prices. Look at it. Flashback Moss is 3,000, and the golden ticket Moss is like 2.5 million. So we pretty much have the greatest and most released cards. The reasons we should be pulling 9 months down the road, not even in addition to, but 9 months down the road. And now let's compare them. Look at this. Golden ticket Moss, 100 speed, but flashback Randy Moss is 99 speed. They almost have the same stats. They almost have the same catching stats. If you look down, the speed, the Sharps, the Tony cards, look at that. They all have this pretty much the same speed. Sharps not as strong as Tony, so he's almost as good as Tony, but he's not as strong when it comes to that. When it comes from the Randy Mosses, look at it, they got like the same 72 strengths. And now we move over, and then we look at the other cards. Let's look at their catching stats. Are they going to be a big deal? The carry's a little different, but look at these catching stats. The golden ticket Moss, released months and months down the road, is almost the exact same. When you look at the Sharps and the Tonys, look at that. They're almost the exact same too. So these are cards that was, the best in the game released 9 months later, and they're almost the exact same. When it comes to run blocking, look at the Moss cards are the same. Sharp is not as good as Tony, but he's almost as good. So okay, these cards are almost the exact same released 9 months later. Here I am playing with Flashback Moss, a couple days ago. But why should I spend money on packs for cards that are pretty much the exact same as cards I have now? There's no point. There's absolutely no point. There's no reason for me to go out there and buy cards when I have the same cards here. So this profit model is just not going to be successful, because I'm going to be going and I'm not going to be spending any money on cards when I already have the card. I already have the best card. There's no point for me to spend money because it's already maxed out as it is. And any card EA releases, it will not be better than the 100s I already have. So there's no point for me to go out there and be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to pull packs today because I want to get the exact same cards that I already have. That just doesn't make any sense. This reveals a pretty frightening conclusion, because the Tony card and the Sharp card are nearly the exact same. Tony's slightly better, and he's released months down the road, but he is slightly better. And he's saying that Tony doesn't perform as well as Sharp because they're so close, and you're small, and you're confusing things like statistical noise, fluctuations, and the random number generator, and you're confusing that for performance. So you show that you can't tell the difference between statistical noise and seeing the math behind it, and you're just going out there and just saying because it looks like it. So it scares me that you're making these points when you don't understand the reasons behind them. I mean, this is like if I gave a quarter to Tony G, a corner to Shannon Sharp, told him to flip it 100 times, and Tony G got 40 heads and Shannon Sharp got 60 heads. That doesn't make Shannon Sharp better at pulling heads out of a coin than Tony G. It just means that he just got, the statistical noise. And these guys are so similar that the stats will fluctuate like that. And it's just scary. The next point's a point that really irritates me, and where they say that, hey, well, you don't have to play the way I want to play. If they make 99s easy, I can play with 99s, and then you can play with your crappy cards, and then we can just both play our ways. Everybody will have fun. And this just isn't the case, because if you play like this is like going to somebody like, hey, let's play chess, but instead of using the regular chess pieces and use chess strategies which have evolved for hundreds of years, and this is the way to play chess, let's just go and put queens on every piece of the board. So that way everybody always gets the maximum power. And I'm like, no, that's not chess. That's a completely different game. Chess and football is based upon in-depth strategies, strengths and weaknesses of each individual player, and all working together as a team and out-strategizing your opponent to get the best possible way. And then you're like, okay, well, I want to play with all queens. Why don't you want me to play with all queens? How about I play with all queens, and then you can play with your regular pieces, and then we'll play each other, and then we'll both win. This will be great, right? And I'm like, no, that don't. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. And going into something else, let's see what happens when that's another thing. It also takes away from the strategy of the game. Football and this game about out strategizing your opponent. If he comes out in a dime, you can shift it and run up the middle until they adjust. And if they come out in a base coverage, and you can spread your guys out wide and have the coverage. But look at the difference between the Dick Lane, and then look at the other cards that have been released. But this Dick Lane is pretty much the best card in the game. He's like 100 strength, 100 speed, 100 catching, 100 coverage, 100 hit power. I mean, this guy is basically a linebacker playing cornerback with perfect coverages. And now you can put him, and so it pretty much just doesn't get better than him. Why should I pull for cornerbacks when I already have the best possible in the game? And now let's look at the difference between him and Brooks, who is pretty much the exact same as well. Nearly 100 speed, 100 catchings, 100 hit power. So now it doesn't matter if I out scheme my opponent by doing, running formations, shifting them out. I can't trick them. Those strategies are gone, because quarters is the exact same as a base coverage, and that my opponents on defense, even the nose tackles, are going to be 100 everything. The strategies are reduced, the gameplay is reduced, because you lose out on all the ability of specialization, strategy, and in-depth play that makes football so much fun to watch and play. You can no longer out-strategize your opponents because they're already at 100 everything. And I mean, the cornerbacks are the same as the safeties, are the same as the defensive ends, are the same as the linebackers. Everybody's the exact same. So all that in-depth strategy is completely gone, and it dumbs down the game. But what I would want would be a more specialized team. You could choose between to have the lower overall, like this hard-hitting, slower safeties, and do a punishing zone defense, or you could take the faster, man coverage cornerbacks. And so the difference between Browner and DRC, and you could choose to play how you want to play, and you could base that on your personal play style. You could choose to have a running back with power, or you could like Lynch, or you could choose to have the fast running backs like Chris Johnson. Or there could be the great running backs like AP, and he would be super rare. And if I saw him, I'd be like, man, I have to prepare for AP. But this gives you the ability to customize your team the way you want. And this also gives EA the ability to slowly release better cards as the year goes on, keeping the mode fresh, keeping the mode fun, and not making it for 100s from the start. So, your team will never get better and there's no point. This gives you both length of the game, and it improves quality of the game. It also improves incentive to buy packs. One thing that I think confuses people is that they say there's diversity in the game right now because there's all these different cards that you can use. But this isn't true diversity. This is just 100 everything, the same card, just the different name on it. They're just taking basically the same card since they're already maxed out and just putting somebody's name on it. And that doesn't make true diversity. To really have all these people out there, you would have to have different stats, and in a lower overall environment where everybody had their own strengths and had their own weaknesses, you'd be able to use diversity and take these different cards and plug them into their specific ability to play their own position, and you would have real diversity. Not just 100 everything, same card with a different name on it. You'd be able to take every player and put them into a situation where they would be successful, not just require them to have 100 everything and you could sub at will because it's the same card. And then we bring up the matchmaking system that you're suggesting, but unless you're paying at peak times, it's pretty hard to find a game. People will back out. There's just not as many players to make this feasible. There's only one pool of players, and it's hard enough to find a game as it is. So, if you want to make matchmaking, you're pretty much saying don't play Madden anymore. And then we get to the heart of the issue, which fear. It's fear. You're saying that we want to build an empire in coins. We're out there. I want to just control everything, and I mean, this is what I would do it all. I'm here to play for fun. I'm here to play a game. I'm a pretty competitive player. When I play World of Warcraft, I was the #1 ranked player in the world. I know what it's like at the top levels. I know what it's like at competitive gameplay. But but we all play games because we want to play it. I want to go out there and I don't want to have, the standard, 100 everything. I want to go out there and play different teams. Some people want to make a deep threat team where they throw over the top. I want to make a running team where I can focus on players that could run the ball and block for the run. My offensive lineman could be stronger, running players. There could even be different running players. There could be the zone blocker, that can move, the offensive lineman that can move and create space, the fast running backs that can do that. And then you could have the stronger, slower guys like the Lynch, and you could have defense, the slower hard hitters and the faster ball hawks. You create a whole bunch of variety and allow me to go up and really see what my opponent has and have each individual strategized battles against this guy. And every game would be different, and it would also create the ability to play and see different players. Right now, Peyton Manning, unusable. He's one of the 99 legends, unusable, because every scrambling quarterback that's somewhat usable is already as good as throwing but can also scramble. Every team I play is the same. This is a real-time strategy game where everybody has the same cards. And if I wanted to play a real-time strategy game, I would play a real-time strategy game. But I mean, we want diversity. Everybody wants to make their own team. It's my Madden Ultimate Team, my team. It's not EA's team because right now it's just the same cards everywhere. I want to have my own team with my favorite players, and if I want to have, certain cards, I should be able to build a team around it to where I can use him as the star of my team, not just, oh look, they're all the same anyway. There's no difference between anybody. All of this leads into a more fun experience. If there's more diversity, I can create my own team. I can play against different teams, and this would ultimately lead for me to have more fun. If you wanted to create an all 99 team, go for it. Nobody's arguing that that should not be done. If there were going to be an all fantastic team, you should have the freedom to do that, but it really shouldn't be as easy as it is right now. It should be fairly difficult, and it should be really difficult. Like, I haven't spent any money on this game. I've always waited to get the good cards, but I still shouldn't be able to have like the best team possible. If we reduced the overalls and made everybody have strengths and weaknesses again, for example, pocket passing quarterbacks who can throw versus scrambling quarterbacks who can't really throw, then this means that EA would be able to upgrade during the year rather than just releasing Star Young who never needs to be upgraded. There'd be reasons to go out there and buy packs every week, and there'd be reasons to go out there and buy players. So this would increase fun of the game, which means I'd be more likely to play for longer, and it would increase my drive to buy more packs. So it would buy money for EA, fun for me, and just generally everybody wins. One more thing, you also say that, right, like this would only benefit the hardcore gamer, but doesn't the current mode benefit the hardcore gamer the most? The people that are plugged in, the people that, there's no, if the rare cards were truly the rare ones, you could pull at any time. You wouldn't need to go check the Twitter. You wouldn't need to check what time they'll go live. You wouldn't need to check all this new stuff. You wouldn't need to be attached at the hip waiting for the times because you could pull at any time. The rare cards would be there. The stand like the Larry Fitzes, the Andre Johnsons, the Megatrons, the Jerry Rices, the Barry Sand. Those cards would be there all the time, and they'd be rare and they'd be very valuable. So you wouldn't need to be connected. Right now, this method favors those that can chat with EA, and we don't want this. We want to have the casual gamer be able to have a fun team and have a fun experience and be just as, just able to make their own team the way they want and not have to be like, you don't have to go from not knowing anything to being 100% plugged in to be really effective. You could just slowly make your way in. You could have fun at your own pace, and that's what we want. We want everybody to have their own team, as hardcore to the most casual and everywhere in between. We want the maximum fun for everybody, and that's what we just want to have fun again. We want to take this from a grind, and we want to have fun, play football, and just be excited over our teams again. Alright guys, this is DarkAlpha. Thanks for listening. Again, we're here for you guys. Come check us out on Evo. What we want, more diversity, not 99 everythings. We want to have fun and we want to play some football again. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.